I'm Tracey Erin Smith, the founder and artistic director of SOULO Theatre, and I am beyond thrilled that each of you are with us this afternoon and this evening. And this is my question for this afternoon or this evening. Because of the time that we are in, I really think it's a time to share wisdom and any survival tips that you are currently using to survive or thrive. So my question to you is, in these times, what's helping? So I invite you to type in a 1 or 2 word answer. Mine would be kitchen dancing or sister chatting. And then we can all learn from each other and leave here with a tip of how to get through these times. So please have a look in the chat, see what people are saying. Soft earth, Pilates, knitting, baking, sunshine, my cat, friends, music, hikes with friends, exercise, dance and music. Oh my God. The homies, food, birds, going outside, poetry. This could be a poem. Snow, hanging out with my homies, break through all holes, putting jigsaw puzzles, our pod. This is great. Zoom, ocean swims, my puppy, our puppy. This is Matza. Matza has really been helping in these times. The purpose of our time together this evening is to listen to and share stories. And to be creative, let go of some crap, and hopefully leave feeling a little more joyful and a little less alone. As I said, my name is Tracey, and I help people across Canada and around the world share their life stories on stage, on television, and now on Zoom. That's who I am. Who are you? You are the friends and family of the storytellers tonight. You are also the midwives present in the delivery room as they give birth to their stories tonight for the first time in front of an audience. These are works in progress from lives in progress. And who are they, the storytellers? Well, not only is it their first time doing anything like this, it's my first time working with this age group. These are young, female-identified, incredible human beings, ages 15 to 17. And when I was first approached to work with this group by Kala and Marlena and David Roach, who are all here, you can wave, I thought, oh my God, could 15 to 17-year-olds really go through this process and plummet the depths of their souls for their stories and then shape those stories so that the stories contain a gift for you, the audience? And the answer was a huge friggin' yes. It has been one of the peak highlights of my career to work with these young gals. They are the heart-centered leaders of tomorrow. And this production today is a partnership with Community Heroes in California, run by Kala. And we call this the Leadership Academy, the SOULO Theatre and Community Heroes Leadership Academy, because we believe by learning to tell their stories, they can be leaders of tomorrow who people would want to partner with on a vision for a better world. So you will be watching 7 approximately 6-minute long short solo shows. They were written and created by the humans that you're going to be doing them. I helped them every step of the way in any way I could, but the stories are true and they come from their hearts and souls.
Magandang hapon po. Ako ay si Elizabeth, ang edad ko ay 16. I know what you're thinking. What the hell did you just say? I just spoke in Tagalog, and I said, good afternoon, my name's Elizabeth, and I'm 16 years old. Being a teenager, I have a lot of stereotypical likes and dislikes. Here's a quick little slide of my interests. This bit's up. These are my favorite shows, my favorite video game, my ethnicities, characters, sport, movie franchises, and band. To highlight 2 of these, this is my favorite sport, volleyball. I'm an outside hitter, and I've been playing for 7 years. I've been on my JV team for 2 years. A lot of people play a sport because it's good adrenaline, it's a good way to exercise. But for me, it's all of those, plus being able to let up my emotions, especially when I'm angry. Like when I'm pissed off and I could just throw the ball in the air and spike it across the court and make a good kill, that's enough relief for me. Here's my favorite band, BTS. They're a 7-member band from South Korea. They debuted in 2013 with their single No More Dream. This is RM, J-Hope, V, Jungkook, Suga, Jimin, and Jin. I'll get back to them later on in the show. Now, I want you to imagine being a 13-year-old girl in middle school who all of a sudden found out she has alopecia areata. If you don't know what that is, it's where the cells in your immune system surround your hair follicles and attack them, causing them to fall out. Now, I want you to imagine going to middle school with bald patches on your head. At the age of 13, the question that lingers in my mind is why? Why is this even happening to me? There are so many questions, yet no answers. I'm too embarrassed to go to school with patches on my head, so I resorted to head wraps. I would wrap them around my head and head off to school like that. I was expecting questions like, why are you wearing those wraps? Like appearing to school with a sudden appearance change. Many people approached me and asked me questions, but I didn't want to answer them to avoid being the bald girl at school. I couldn't even tell my middle school best friend because I was scared that it would tear up our friendship. My middle school best friend, she was kind, inclusive, and accepting. It was weird even for myself knowing that I couldn't talk to her. Eventually I did, and she wasn't fazed by it. She was accepting and she was willing to help me in any way she could. However, there was this one day at school where this group of guys from my grade came up to us and I was going to our house and asked, "Why are you wearing those? Is it to look cool? Because it really isn't." I didn't know what to say, so I just stood there and I felt the hot tears run down my cheek. She told him to shut up as we walked away, but those words didn't leave my mind. I got home that day and I remember having to cut off the last strand of hair that was on my scalp. I looked in the mirror and I did not like what I saw. I didn't hate myself, I just didn't like what I saw. I did not feel beautiful at all. Okay, remember the band I talked about at the beginning of all of this? Well, it's my pleasure to introduce to you their music. Wasn't that just amazing? That song, Magic Shop, is about being able to go to people and just being able to calm down and they'll listen to you and they'll make sure you're okay. Other than my family and friends who supported me through the entire phase of alopecia, this 7-member band from South Korea really lifted me up. Their music surrounds fighting against social stereotypes and spreading self-love. There's this one quote from the member RM that says, "Even if you're not perfect, you're limited edition." All right, I know, it's cheesy. It's really cheesy, but it really did help me a lot. There's one other quote from the member Jungkook that says, "Self-love isn't selfish, it's important." And that too really hit different. Over time, my hair started growing back because of the medicine we were using. And even now, as a high schooler, there are still times where I look in the mirror and not like what I see. The world can be cruel, but I want you to remember to always go against the critics. No physical feature can define you. They're a part of you, so learn to embrace it. I know it's hard and cliche when people say to love yourself. However, I want you to go outside on a walk. I want you to listen to music with positive messages and to surround yourself with family and friends. And when you look in the mirror, I want you to smile. Thank you for listening, and I hope somehow my story was able to help you through whatever struggles you're going through on day to day.
I'd like you, please, first off, to close your eyes if you're comfortable with it. Close them really tight. And picture a pathway lined with fairy lights and a sky speckled with stars. Feel the warm breeze on your face and take a deep breath. Inhale the salty Mediterranean air and exhale the exhaustion of the day. Walk up the steps to your cottage and stroke the cats sitting on the railing. Listen to their soothing purrs. Breathe in the smell of rosemary and lemon from the kitchen. Walk inside the dimly lit entryway and throw yourself into your partner's arms. You can open your eyes now. What I just described is my happy place. It doesn't exist outside of my imagination, but one day it will. It's my dream, and it makes me excited for my future. My happy place is where my mind goes when everything else is too much, when I need to escape. The world can be a shitty place, so I need things that make me happy, because a lot of the time I'm not. I'd love to be, but honestly, after this, I have to study for math, which I'm really not good at. And at school on Monday, I have to talk to friends who don't always act like my friends. And after school, I have to go to my job at the vet where I see animals in pain a lot. I also have to have a conversation with my dad about wanting to live with my mom full time. So that's going to be fun. Yeah, I'm not really happy right now. I graduate next year, so I'm constantly thinking about what I want to do with my life. And when I think about that, I think about my dream. My ideal future, living on a Greek island with my girlfriend or boyfriend and our 50 cats. And I get really scared because I'm not good at math. And what if that means I can't get into a university, and then I can't become a vet, so I can't get a job, and then I can't make money, so I can't travel, and then I can't be happy? Fuck. I looked up the origin of the idea of happiness for this piece, and I found something kind of cool. So one of the founders of the term happiness was an ancient Greek philosopher named Aristotle. I found it really cool, and what a coincidence that one of the first people to really come up with like a concept of happiness came up with it in Greece, which is my happy place. Anyway, where I was going with Aristotle was that he said, happiness consists in achieving through the course of a whole lifetime all the goods, wealth, health, knowledge, friends, etc., that lead to the perfection of human nature and the enrichment of human life. This requires us to make choices, some of which may be very difficult. Choices, difficult, these words struck me, and I'm going to tell you why. During COVID, I haven't been living with my dad. He recently got married and his wife is immune compromised. So me going to school and work and volunteering at the food bank means I can't live with them. I've made commitments to these things, so I can't give them up. So every night he and his wife text me, asking about my day, telling me how much they miss me, and saying how much they love me. And I hate it. I hate how much they say I love you to the point where it means nothing, and I hate how they expect me to say it back. But I do it. A few times a week we meet for social distance visits, and even though I'm exhausted and busy and stressed out, I go. One day, over ice cream at the park, I tell my dad I miss my grandparents and that my mom has offered to drive me 6 hours away to visit them. He tells me it's not my mom's decision, they're his parents. I don't understand. They're my grandparents. Why can't I see them? We say goodbye. I get into my mom's car and burst into tears. That night, my dad calls me and says that me and my mom had been disrespectful. I tell him I wasn't trying to be disrespectful, I just missed them. He says, well, if you were here with us right now, we could have gone to see them already. I reply, I know COVID sucks and I wish we could be together, but it's no one's fault that we're not. He says to me, you made decisions, Em. You can't just blame it on COVID. You made decisions. It felt like I'd been punched in the gut. After months of trying to please everyone, my teachers, my dad, my boss, to the point of my own self-destruction, and now he implies it's my fault I'm not living with them, that I'm the reason for his sadness. It was then that I realized I hadn't been making choices that resulted in my own happiness, like Aristotle said. I'd been making choices that accommodated other people's happiness. And when I failed at that, I understood it was because I'm not responsible for other people's emotions. I'm not responsible for their feelings. I'm responsible for me, for my happiness. My well-being is just as important as everyone else's. You know that feeling that bubbles up from your stomach and warms your chest and rushes up your throat onto your lips and forms a huge smile? I love that feeling. And when I get it, I think I want to feel this all the time. I want to be in a constant state of ecstasy. And when I do get sad, I want people I trust there to bring me up. I want a home I can come back to and feel comforted by. I want to create a life for myself that doesn't require me to work so hard to be happy. A life where happiness is everywhere and comes from the little things. I don't believe in God. I don't have a religion or mantra that I live by. I honestly don't think there's a meaning to life. But what I do believe is that I only get one shot at this. That my time on earth can be spent worrying and being hateful and sad, or I can live my life striving for happiness. Striving for the tingling feeling in your body when you kiss someone, for the feeling of bliss when you swim in the ocean on a summer night, for the feeling of triumph when you see the view from the top of the mountain, and the feeling of radiant calm when you watch a sunset. I will live my life aspiring to feel absolute elation all the time. Not fake happiness. I don't want to plaster a smile on my face and tell people I'm happy. I want to live happy. I want to make memories and have adventures and make mistakes. I believe in YOLO and here for a good time, not a long time. I believe in Aristotle and making choices that will result in the perfection of human nature and the enrichment of human life. So if you ask me what the meaning of life is, I guess I would tell you, it's to be happy.
Beginning of first grade, I learned to write words in Japanese. As I breathed in the smell of gingerbread mixed with San Francisco air, my little 6-year-old hand would scribble out characters in pencil and ink. I learned to be respectful, to have love and joy in my heart. I learned to live in harmony with the world around me at Setsuban, a spring celebration to ward off bad spirits and bring in good luck. Out in the elementary courtyard, we would chant Fuku wa Uchi, meaning devils out, happiness in. Since then, spring has always been my favorite season. It reminds me of joy, growth, and new beginnings. Now, we're a little later into first grade. I get an email from my uncle's girlfriend working with a nonprofit in Kenya. She says she's met this girl named Emma, who's my age, and thinks we would get along. Being only 5 and not thinking much of it, I decide to send her a letter. Fast forward to now, almost 12 years later, and we still write regularly. This young girl, who barely spoke English, became one of my dearest friends. We would learn the same things in school, and yet her world was drastically different from mine. Abusive fathers, poverty, and political instability were all very confusing terms to me, and yet it changed the way I see the world. I remember this one time, not long after meeting Emma, I was walking down the street with my mom after having just left the bookstore, saying goodbye to the two men who lived and performed on the street outside. My dad had befriended them one day. They knew my name and always said hello. As we continued down the path, another homeless man asked if we had any money or anything to eat. My mom apologized, saying we didn't, grabbed my hand tighter as we continued down the path. I remember looking up at her and asking why we didn't give him the other half of my sandwich that was in his purse. She was surprised and didn't have an answer. Since then, empathy has been one of my greatest qualities, and because of the culture Emma exposed me to, my world has been enriched and I have a lifelong connection beyond borders. I've heard people argue that identity is something you're born with, something you can control. Me, I think it's a collection of subconsciously chosen traits ranging from the best and worst parts of ourselves to even the slightest features that only we know. Even though we can't change what happens in this world, we can choose whether or not it'll alter us. I think back to Fuku wa Uchi, Devil's Out. I write poetry to make sense of my thoughts. Happiness in. My love for performing and impacting others through art. I've also allowed my anxiety, jealousy, and stone-cold stubbornness to shape me because you can't choose to hide your flaws. And trust me, I've tried. For a while, I struggled to decide where I wanted to take this show. What words of wisdom do I have in 6 minutes that you're not going to get anywhere else? But then, about 2 months ago, I had this moment where it all hit me. There was absolutely nothing special about what I was doing. I was getting ready for work on a Monday, probably way earlier than necessary, humming a song I rarely listen to. I look in the mirror, and I have this moment where I think, 10-year-old me would be so happy with who I am right now. And it made me feel grateful and validated, reminding me that all of my hard work was worth it because it had made someone happy. Only for one of the first times I can remember, the person I'd made happy was myself. It's so easy to forget who we are or why we do what we do. I know I've done it before. But before I go, I'll leave you with this. Who have you chosen to be? What have you left behind? And are you making yourself proud?
I'm in 3rd grade. My parents are just leaving the room after saying goodnight, but my heart is pounding. I call after my dad. Abba, that's Hebrew for dad. I feel it. What's it, honey? What do you feel? I don't know, I just feel it. He tries to pry out of me what I'm feeling, but I can't explain it to him because even I don't know what it is. Finally, I come up with something. I don't know who I'm going to sit with at lunch tomorrow. He tries to reassure me, naming off a bunch of my friends, but it doesn't help. I know who I could sit with at lunch tomorrow. I just feel it. It feels like this goes on for a long time, sometimes continuing on into the next morning, where I'd cry, not wanting my parents to leave after dropping me off at school. But I wasn't getting bullied. I had lots of friends. I just felt it. Even now, I still feel it. I feel it when calling a friend or ordering a drink at a coffee shop, even right now when talking to you all. But I do know that in the last week, I was able to call my local library, which may not seem like a big deal, but for me it is. Last year, I experienced a very similar feeling to it. This time really having to do with who I was going to sit with at lunch. It's my first day of my freshman year of high school. Not only is it a new school, but I've just changed districts, so I don't know anyone here. We're put into small groups that are going to be our advisory groups for the rest of the year. I look around, trying to make small talk with other kids, but most stick with their own friends. Soon lunch rolls around. I pick a spot under a nice shady tree that I'm going to go sit and eat under. but stop myself, deciding that I'm going to put myself out there and sit with someone new. I try to find someone from my group earlier. I see a girl I think I might recognize and start to walk over. "Hi," I say. "Hi," she responds. She'd been on her phone and puts it down just enough to respond to me, then pulls it right back up. I try again. "Could I eat lunch with you?" She looks really uncomfortable. "Sure." I stand next to her. And for the next few minutes, neither of us says anything. She continues to look at her phone. Finally, I walk away. She doesn't even look up. I pick a spot under the nice shady tree I looked at earlier and sit down. I start to pull out my headphones, but stop myself, remembering what my parents said about seeming approachable. I eat my lunch to the sound of the busy yard. In that story, at the end, I was tempted to pull out my music and just drift away from this world. But I didn't. Because that's what music can do for me. As soon as I put my headphones on, my whole world disappears and I get pulled into the land of the music. Sometimes I even close my eyes and my whole world melts away and I listen to the story of whatever the music wants to tell me. Sometimes, after the music stops, I want it to continue, and so I grab my ukulele, my piano, my guitar, or even my own voice, and I sing along or play along. Sometimes I even make up my own new patterns and my own new songs. I love music. It helps to connect me to the world around me and allows me to drift away from it. In that story, I didn't want to drift away. I wanted to stay present and I wanted to stay approachable. Eventually, that paid off. For the next little while, I don't approach anyone and nobody approaches me, except for a nice, kind staff member who sometimes stops by to say hi. Then, one day, this girl I recognized from my Spanish and math class walks up to me. "Hi," she says. "Hi. Could I sit next to you?" she asks. "Sure," I say. She has lunch with me and we have a really nice conversation. It turns out we have a lot in common. Soon lunch is over and the rest of the day passes by super fast. I'm in a great mood. The next day comes around fast and it's lunch again. I sit down at my regular spot underneath the tree and I don't expect to see her again. I start on my lunch. A few minutes pass and I see her running towards me. "Hi, sorry I'm late. I got caught up in science class." "That's all right," I say. She sits down next to me. Since then, we've shared many more lunches and have remained friends. Over time, I made more friends, but she's remained my closest. I'll forever be grateful for her for taking a chance and saying hi. And I'm grateful for you all for listening, because we all have to remember that sometimes in our lives, we all have pain, we all have sorrow, but if we are wise, we know that there's always tomorrow. Lean on me when you're not strong, and I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on, for no one can fill those of your needs that you won't let go.
A son and his father are driving when they get into a horrible car accident. The father dies and the son is badly injured in need of surgery. The surgeon walks into the room, looks at the boy, and says, "I cannot operate on this boy. He is my son." How is that possible? How is the son the child of the surgeon if his father is dead? If you were puzzled by this riddle, you might be sexist. Anyways, moving on. My name is Anjali, but at school I'm known as the math girl. How did I get this nickname? Well, let's start from the beginning. My dad, being a mathematician, would always throw random problems at me, whether it was calculating the annual cost of my Club Penguin membership or figuring out how many sides a dodecahedron has. Needless to say, I knew how to spell dodecahedron before the word definitely. I'm not sure I could spell definitely correctly even now. Anyways, I always knew I enjoyed math, but it took a school conflict for me to gain confidence and finally fall in love with it. Let me set the scene. It's the beginning of 9th grade and my tiny Mountain View high school, and I have a new math teacher. He starts off the year by putting me in the lowest level class without even assessing my ability. You see, my school doesn't believe in putting people in classes based on their age, but I guess he didn't get the memo. I'm a pretty shy kid, so I just keep quiet and decide that I'll prove my math proficiency through my work. Days, weeks, months go by, and my frustration just grows and grows. He seems to only really pay attention to the highest level class and just gives us busy work that's itself riddled with errors. Over one of our breaks, he assigns us a dozen or so Khan Academy videos to watch and take notes on. The notes are extremely time-consuming, but I am determined. I need my notes to be perfect. I spend hours and hours hunched over at my desk, listening to Sal count at 2 speed while taking notes, only to take a break to massage my hand or take a picture of a bird I see out of my window. I finally finish, sore hands and all, but I feel a sense of accomplishment. I bring my notebook to his desk the next day, clutching my 10+ hours of work as if it'll fall, break, and disappear, and hand it to him. He looks up, takes the notebook, spends less than 10 seconds flipping through the pages, grabs his marker, and scribbles a grade on top of my clean notes. It's not a bad grade, but it's not the grade I wanted or deserved, and it's definitely not the recognition my work deserves. He hands the notebook back to me and turns his head back to what he was doing before, as if nothing happened. This was it for me. I'm so frustrated that I storm over to my desk and immediately start drafting a sharply worded email to my teacher and principal. I request a meeting so that I can finally stand up for myself. Let me remind you, I am 12 years old as I'm writing this email. Struggling to hit send, I go home and have my parents proofread it. They're extremely supportive. I go to the meeting and plead my case, shocking both my teacher and principal with this change from my usually quiet demeanor. To humor me, the teacher creates a placement test to determine each student's math level for the rest of the year. This gives me the opportunity to prove myself, and I place into the highest level class, along with some boys who were more than 2 years older than me, who are still in my math class to this day. I walk into my new class with confidence, but that doesn't prevent one of my male classmates from remarking, "Wow, they're really letting anyone into this class now, aren't they?" I realize the battle is won, but not the war. This is when I forge a new purpose that brings me here today, to empower girls in math, earning me the nickname Math Girl. This experience taught me that if you don't speak up, you won't get the recognition you deserve. Even though I was scared to confront my teacher and stand up for myself, I pushed myself to do it, and it ended up changing my life path. I recently finished applying to some of the top universities in the state with math and applied math as my first and second intended majors across the board. Close to home, I've implemented a TA program for students at my school who are afraid to ask questions to the whole class, and I'm actually a TA myself for all the girls taking calculus this year. On a global scale, I'm working with an organization called Schoolhouse.World to connect math tutors to students in need around the world. Although I have discovered my passion through this experience, I know that there are many girls out there who feel discouraged. If I had to give every single girl in the world one piece of advice, it's that self-confidence is the only thing you need to thrive. People, boys, can be dumb and say dumb things, but they are entitled to their own opinions. I'm not going to tell you to ignore them. Don't ignore them. Use them to fuel yourself. Make it your purpose to prove them wrong. But most importantly, if you feel like you're being wronged or underestimated in any way, speak up, because there's nothing more exciting than coming to your own rescue.
Today I want to speak about our differences and our insecurities, specifically our differences and how we're all so complex and unique, and how we need to accept our insecurities and not be ashamed of them or feel the pressure to fit into society's norm. Ever since I was about 13, I've been extremely self-critical and self-conscious about myself and how I look in regards to my back. I have 3 spinal curvatures, which are called scoliosis, all of which are 40 degrees or higher, putting my spine into the severe scoliosis category. My mother also has scoliosis, as well as my aunt, grandmother, great aunt, and older brother. Since I was about 3 years old, I've been a dancer, all up until this past year, in which I decided to take a break. When I was about 12, I started more intense training in ballet and modern contemporary, multiple hours a day, close to every day of the week, with the hopes that one day I would be accepted into a professional dance company. In dance, specifically ballet, I would only see extremely skinny women, so naturally I would compare myself and my body to them, which is so messed up because I was young and I was just built differently. It is a tough thing for a young girl to grow up in that environment who doesn't exactly fit into those standards. When I was 13, my scoliosis got drastically worse. During that year, I started to get excruciating back pain. This has continued close to every day for the past 3 years. Alongside with the pain, my scoliosis became more and more visible due to the curvatures progressing, giving me 2 different and quite large bumps on my back. I felt ugly and thought that everyone was able to notice my back because of the pain I was in all the time. But in reality, most people don't even notice it because, let's be honest, who is constantly staring at someone's back? Even today, I still have to remind myself this. I felt ashamed for something that isn't even my fault or something I can really control. I've been slowly working on coming to terms with the fact that I will always have my scoliosis and that will never change. I still look at my back in the mirror and think self-critical thoughts, but the more I hear or see others with similar situations to me, I feel more and more comfortable with my scoliosis. That is why we need to share these parts of ourselves, so that we can all feel confident in our bodies and ourselves. There are days when I feel so extremely sorry for myself and that no one else I know has to deal with something so drastic as to what I have to go through, even though there are 5 other people in my family in the same situation as me. I feel slightly disgusted with myself when I think these things because I know that every single person around me and in this world is battling something in their life, whether it be mental or physical. The only thing is that we don't speak about our differences and insecurities. At least, I don't. I believe that we, as humans, like to push it down and hide the emotions or the things that are hurting us. I think this is because we feel the need to be strong and show others that we have our shit together, although most of the time, it is the complete opposite. Growing up in dance, I always felt too big to be in ballet. Yet, I was considered small and thin outside of dance. And to be completely honest, I was small in dance as well, just not as skinny as the other girls. But I felt huge compared to them. I was just built differently and had bigger muscles at a younger age. I wish that I could go back and tell my younger self that I was beautiful and we aren't defined by our bodies. I would get compliments from strangers who would come to see my shows. There was this one old woman who came to watch me for 3 years in a row. At the end of every dance show, I would hope to see her there. I never learned her name, but she meant a lot to me, because even though I didn't have that perfect ballerina body, my dancing spoke to her and made her feel something. Sometimes I think of what she told me at the end of grade 8. She told me to never stop dancing. But that's exactly what I did. I stopped. Isn't it strange that someone said has been echoing in the back of my head for so long?
Hello everyone, my name is Kim and I hope everyone is doing well and is healthy. I just want everyone a deep breath in and breathe out. What you're about to listen to is an emotional roller coaster about my life. When I was 13 years old, I grew up listening to hateful comments about people from different races and people who love the same sex. Sadly, I listened to what my parents, the people who said these hurtful comments, said. From what my parents told me, I believed. I always have their hateful comments in my mind, and I would tell that to others. I also had friends who were like that as well, and sadly, I hung out with them. For 13 years, I had this hateful mindset. I recall being in PE and seeing this girl who I've never seen around school. I would always tell myself, she's really pretty. She's really beautiful. How can I make her mine? Whoa. What did I just say? At that moment, I knew something was up with me. I was never born into any religion. But after that day, I went back home, hid in my room, and started praying to God. I told him, please, Lord, please take the gay away from me. Please take it. I would do this every month, every night. I didn't want my parents to disappoint me. I didn't want them to kick me out of this small-ass apartment that I call home. For the next couple of months, she was always on my mind, 24/7, day and night. She was such a beautiful person. During those months, I knew that I was attracted to women. Women to me are just the best thing since laughing, since trees, since water, since oxygen. They are chef kisses to me. Men, on the other hand, they are overhyped or whatever. Just saying. I knew I wanted that girl to be my girlfriend. I came out to my cousin, and she was very accepting of me. She also said that she knew, and it was pretty obvious. So, it felt really nice coming out to her. The only person I was afraid of was my parents. Little did I know the next day, hell broke loose. So it came back together. It was right after school, and I was walking home. I live about 5 minutes away from my middle school. I arrived home and head straight to my room to leave my backpack in there. My mom was getting dinner ready, and I was putting on my Netflix show that my mom and I would always watch. It's called Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt. My mom called me over and told me to sit down and eat. During this specific episode, one of the main characters, Titus Andromedon, went out on a date with this guy. This guy had a kid. My mom asked me, why did he have a kid? I told her, maybe he was straight and then came out as gay. Or maybe he's bisexual, meaning like he likes both female and male, like me. When she heard that, she said, quote unquote, ¿Qué dijiste? ¿Como mí? ¿Me estás diciendo que te gustan mujeres? Voy a decir a tu papá, tu tío, tu abuela y abuelo Ellos van a hacer algo a usted. My mom telling me that she didn't want me to date women. She told me that she was going to tell my dad, my uncle, my grandma, and grandpa, and have me, well, you can guess what they were going to do to me. For some reason, that didn't scare me. My mom out here acting like El Chapo didn't scare me. The only thing that scared me was my homophobic dad. His precious little angel is going to break his heart, and he'll be seeing me very different. After dinner, I ran into my room and waited for my dad to come. After a couple of hours, I heard his crappy-ass car, which the whole block can hear, come closer and closer and closer to the point where he was just right outside my door. My dad walked in, rambling about work. As soon as he took a breath, I just went up to him and told him, "Papá, me gustan mujeres." He was shocked. He said, "What?" I said, "I like women." Before he could say anything else, I ran into the bathroom and locked the door. He knocked nicely and said, "Princesa, come out. Please come out." He said it very, very nicely. I want y'all to know that. Until I said this one sentence that nobody should hear. I told him, "Leave me alone and let me stay in this bathroom to die." As soon as I finished that sentence, I grabbed these scissors. I put it on my wrist. And well, I was going to end my life right there and then. But for some reason, something stopped me. I heard him scream and pound on the door. Nearly breaking it, by the way. It stopped me. Hearing his anger, him screaming, stopped me. I put down the scissors and opened the door. He grabbed me by my hair and dragged me to my bed. He sat me down, still with his raised voice, and said, "Kimberly, I know this isn't you. I know you're just a little kid and you don't know what you're saying. But if this is truly how you're thinking, truly who you are, just know that you mean the world to me, that you are my little sunshine, my princesa, my angel. Just know that I will accept you no matter what. I just want you to be here with me, breathing on this earth. Just stay with me." He said, "I love you, Kimberly." Those 3 words, "I love you." A sign of weakness in this household. Something that I rarely hear from my parents. Just came out of nowhere. I've never seen the side of him. As I was wiping my tears away from my mouth, I was trying to catch my breath. Then boom, he left the room, just leaving me and my mom. My mom gave me a look and said, "You lucky son of a bitch," and walked away. She didn't talk to me for about a week. After that, I felt more free, more of myself, the queerest shoddy that I've ever felt, the baddest bitch of the block, feeling so free and me. I am that lucky son of a bitch.
I want to say, I really feel that we witnessed and felt hope tonight. And I have to thank everyone who was involved in making this possible. The funders and Marlena and Kala with your vision for community heroes. And every one of you amazing people who showed up here tonight to cheer them on. And to the 7 of you performers, welcome to the rest of your lives as leaders. You are our hope and you're up for it. Thank you so much, everyone.